Imagine insulting the quiet janitor at work, only to find out he's the one who owns the building. What happens next will leave you speechless. Don't miss the full story of how a moment of arrogance led to a life-changing lesson. Hit that like button, subscribe, and share this video with anyone who needs a reminder that respect isn't about titles, it's about how we treat others. The office tower stood tall in the heart of the city, its glass facade reflecting the bustling streets below. Inside, everything was pristine and polished, an environment where appearances and status were everything. The employees in this prestigious corporate office were well-dressed, confident, and always busy climbing the ladder of success. Karen was one of them. As a senior employee with years of experience, she walked the halls with an air of superiority. Her sharp heels clicked against the marble floors as she carried herself with pride, her designer wardrobe and perfectly styled hair a testament to her belief in appearances. Karen was efficient at her job, but her attitude often overshadowed her skills. She had a habit of looking down on those she deemed beneath her, especially the maintenance staff. Among them was Mr. Richards, a quiet man who had recently joined the team. He was always in his navy blue uniform, Janitor, pushing his cleaning cart silently through the corridors. He worked diligently, making sure the office stayed immaculate, but he didn't say much to anyone. Polite and unassuming, he kept to himself, occasionally offering a warm smile or a nod. Karen, however, had no patience for him. Whenever their paths crossed, she made cutting remarks about his work, his uniform, or even his slow pace. "Can't you mop somewhere else? You're in the way," she'd snap, not bothering to hide her disdain. Mr. Richards never argued or reacted. He simply nodded, muttered an apology, and continued his work. To Karen, he was just a janitor. But to others there was something in his calm demeanor that hinted there was more to him than met the eye. It was a typical busy morning in the office, with employees buzzing around, preparing for their day. Karen, as always, arrived early, her coffee in hand and her sharp heels announcing her presence. She placed her bag on her desk, ready to dive into work, when she noticed Mr. Richards cleaning up a spill near her workspace. Her mood soured immediately. "What on earth are you doing here?" she snapped, her voice cutting through the hum of the office. "You're in my way, and the smell of that cleaner is horrible. Can't you do this somewhere else?" Mr. Richards straightened up, his calm demeanor unwavering. "I'm sorry, ma'am," he said softly. "I'll be done in just a moment." But Karen wasn't satisfied. She crossed her arms and sneered. "I don't know how someone your age ends up doing this job. Didn't you have any ambition in life? Or is this the best you could manage?" The room fell silent. A few coworkers glanced over, their eyes darting between Karen and Mr. Richards. Uneasy whispers rippled through the air, but no one stepped forward to stop her. Karen's sharp tongue was well known, and most avoided being on the receiving end of it. Mr. Richards didn't react. He simply nodded, finished mopping the floor, and quietly walked away. His expression was unreadable, as though he hadn't heard a single word she said. Karen smirked, pleased with herself, and went about her day, completely unaware of the silent tension she had left in her wake. Later that week, a company-wide meeting was called, gathering employees in the grand conference room. The buzz was palpable. Rumors of a new building owner had been circulating for days. Karen, as always, was more concerned about making an impression than the content of the meeting. She adjusted her tailored blazer, checked her reflection on her phone, and took a seat near the front. In her mind, this was an opportunity to network with the kind of wealthy, influential businessman she admired. The room quieted as the HR director stepped onto the stage. "Ladies and gentlemen, I'm pleased to introduce the new owner of our building, Mr. Richards." A polite round of applause began, but it quickly faltered as Mr. Richards walked onto the stage, not in his janitor's uniform, but in a perfectly tailored suit. His transformation was stunning. The once unassuming man now exuded quiet confidence, his calm gaze sweeping across the room. Karen froze, her heart sinking as she recognized him. Whispers erupted among the employees as he reached the podium. "Good morning, everyone," he began, his voice steady. "For those who don't know me, I'm James Richards. I recently acquired this building, and over the past few weeks I've been observing the workplace culture while working in a more hands-on capacity." The room fell into stunned silence. Karen's face turned pale as she replayed her rude remarks in her head. Mr. Richards didn't call her out directly but continued. Respect and kindness are values I hold dear, and I look forward to fostering an environment that reflects those principles. Karen sat stiffly in her chair, dreading what might come next. Karen's heart pounded in her chest as Mr. Richards stood at the podium, his calm demeanor making the room feel eerily quiet. Her mind raced back to that morning, remembering her sharp words, her dismissive attitude toward him. She had thought nothing of it at the time, but now as she watched the man who had once quietly mopped the floors address the room as the building's new owner, her stomach twisted with regret. Her palms began to sweat. She glanced around the room, her coworkers looking equally stunned, their eyes flickering between her and Mr. Richards. She could feel the weight of their silent judgment. The confidence she had always carried so effortlessly seemed to evaporate in the face of the realization that she had just insulted the man who now controlled the very building they worked in. Mr. Richards continued, his voice steady and authoritative. I've spent time observing this company, its culture, and its people. And what I've learned is this: true leadership isn't about titles, power, or wealth. It's about how we treat one another. It's about respect. Respect for everyone, no matter their role or position. He paused, his gaze scanning the room. There's something to be said for kindness and understanding, for valuing character above status. It's easy to look down on others when you're in a position of privilege, but I believe that's where we often go wrong. Karen felt the sting of his words, her cheeks burning as she realized he was indirectly referencing her. She swallowed hard, the weight of her earlier actions sinking in. For the first time she felt small. Mr. Richards had made it clear that in his world, respect and integrity mattered far more than anything else. After the meeting, Karen couldn't focus on anything but the weight of what had just happened. She lingered in the conference room for a moment, watching Mr. Richards as he spoke with a few employees. Her hands trembled as she gathered her courage. This was her chance to make things right, but she wasn't sure if it was even possible. She walked up to him, her steps hesitant. Mr. Richards, I'm so sorry, she stammered, her voice shaking. I shouldn't have treated you like that. It was wrong, and I truly regret it. Mr. Richards turned to her, his expression softening. Thank you for your apology, Karen. I appreciate it, he said calmly. But understand this, respect isn't something you can take lightly. If you want to stay here and continue working with us, you need to change the way you treat people. Karen nodded, her throat tight. I understand. I will. I promise. He smiled, but there was a quiet firmness in his eyes. I'm glad to hear that. We're all part of this company, and no one should be made to feel less than anyone else. Remember that. Over the following weeks, Karen found herself reflecting deeply on the lessons she had learned. She started making a conscious effort to treat everyone with respect, from the office staff to the maintenance team. She greeted Mr. Richards whenever she saw him, no longer with a condescending attitude, but with genuine kindness. Her change in behavior didn't go unnoticed. The office atmosphere began to shift. People felt more comfortable, more valued. What had been a toxic, hierarchical environment began to feel more inclusive, more empathetic, thanks to one pivotal moment that made Karen and the whole company realize the true meaning of leadership and respect. Under Mr. Richards' ownership, the office building underwent a remarkable transformation. The atmosphere shifted from one of rigid hierarchy to a more open, collaborative environment where respect was the foundation. Employees no longer dreaded their workday, knowing they were appreciated for their contributions, no matter how big or small. Motivation and productivity soared, and the company became a place where people genuinely enjoyed coming to work. Karen, too, began to change. At first, her efforts were small, a smile to the janitor, a simple thank you to the receptionist, but over time, they became more meaningful. She took the time to learn the names of everyone in the office, from the cleaning staff to the interns. She made it a point to speak up in meetings, not to dominate the conversation, but to listen and offer genuine input. It wasn't easy, but she realized it was worth it. She wasn't just gaining the respect of others, she was learning to respect herself as well. Her colleagues noticed the change, and over time Karen earned back their trust. She was no longer the arrogant, condescending senior employee. She was someone they could rely on, someone who valued every person in the office. The moral of the story was clear. Status and title don't define a person's worth. It's humility, respect, and kindness that truly make a difference in the world. And sometimes it takes a wake-up call, a humbling moment to help us see that. Mr. Richards had shown everyone that leadership wasn't about being at the top, it was about lifting others up along the way. Hey everyone! Thanks so much for watching. If you enjoyed this story and believe in the power of respect and kindness, be sure to hit that like button. Don't forget to subscribe for more inspiring stories, and feel free to comment your thoughts below. I'd love to hear from you. If you know someone who could use a little reminder about the importance of treating others well, make sure to share this video with them. Your support means the world, and it helps us keep bringing these stories to you. Thanks again for being part of this amazing journey.